Okay, let's move on to China. We're going to break some of this down. It's have some fascinating stuff happening geopolitically. We'll start with Xi Jinping, as I mentioned in our last show, visiting Hanoi in Vietnam. We have some video showing this. Keep in mind, it was released by Chinese state propaganda, but it's still important. It's still real video, so let's take a look. And we can put it up there on the screen. You could see Xi being, all the communist flags waving as he is visiting the streets of Hanoi. This is important because Vietnam is our number 8 trading partner, a key part of the pivot to Asia of the Obama administration, and actually subsequent even with the Trump tariffs, was a basically finger wagging at Nike and at numerous other retailers saying, listen, no China anymore. You have to manufacture elsewhere. They said, okay, we'll go to Vietnam. We gave them a lot of money to go to Vietnam. They built up supply chains. Now, I will be the first to admit that China absolutely took advantage of transshipping via Vietnam, and they, of course, were trying to game the advantage, etc. But Vietnam was a critical U.S. trading partner. Like I said, number 8, very, very little behind Taiwan. That's how much I'm talking about their overall effect on the U.S. economy. On top of that, Vietnam, despite the fact that we destroyed half of their country, has very favorable attitudes to the United States. They have, remember, they have beef with China over the South China Sea and a few of the island chains. These are not necessarily countries with super close relations in the last 12 years or so. So to see that, it's a bit of a problem. And actually, even Trump has paid attention to this. Put the next one, please, up on the screen. Quote, Trump grumbles about China's lovely meeting with Vietnam, saying they are discussing how to screw the United States of America. That's true. That's actually true. Because there's a reason that Xi went to Vietnam and Cambodia and is going to Malaysia next. These are all areas, with critical U.S. trade relationships. A lot of U.S. textiles move through that area. We are not seeing, it's not even just about good relations. Don't, forget, Krystal, Vietnam was one of the first countries to say, okay, fine, no tariffs, zero. And then they got nothing. They still got a tariff
the Trump
imposed
administration said that's
on their
not
goods.
good enough.
Obviously, that's been a 90-day off, but, they're not stupid. They need to make money. And so in the interim period, they're like, are we really going to have a 90-day agreement? I mean, look at Japan. Japan, their economic minister flew here yesterday. They met with Scott Bessent. They met with Donald Trump, and Trump was like, yeah, there's been a great movement, but there's nothing that's been, announced. That's Japan. By the way, we have a very well architecture trade deal with Japan negotiated in 2019 with Shinzo Abe. If you want to update that, it's really not difficult. So if it's going to take this long just to do Japan, we have 70 other countries that we're supposed to do. Way more complex trading relationships than we do with anybody else. This is a G7 nation. It's very easy to actually hammer that out. They have good statistics, etc., rules we can trust, currency. These are all simple, actually, to hammer out in an agreement. What are you going to do with all these other countries, which you've slapped all these huge tariffs on? In the interim 90 days, where do you think they're going to go? They're going to China. Same with the European Union. They just negotiated all that tariff exclusion with some of the cars, pumping the way for BYD and Xiaomi to have more market entrance over there. So there's big problems that we have right now.
Yeah, that's right. And I even saw Fox News grumbling about hey, we thought we were going to get 90 deals in 90 days. We don't have one.
Okay, I mean,
we
that's
don't have
so
one.
Obvious. Yeah.
Right. But I mean, that Fox News is even saying that is incredible. And with regard to this, Xi didn't come away empty-handed from this trip to Vietnam. They apparently signed 45 different agreements on issues like supply chains and railways. And it just underscores, for them, they have one big problem. Our, trade war with us and the loss of our very large and wealthy market, right? Our consumers are very powerful. We spend a lot of money. There's no doubt about that. That's a significant problem. They have the entire world that they can go to. They can use their own, government programs to help subsidize and support their own industry. They, of course, have their own massive and burgeoning market. In fact, their exports as a percent of their GDP has been going down as their own domestic market has been increasingly powerful, and they've been turning towards that. And our percent of of their exports has also been going down. So yes, of course, we are incredibly important to China's economy. China is incredibly important to our economy. Decoupling this relationship is going to involve severe pain on both sides. But their problems are, number one, I think, more straightforward. They have fewer problems to solve because they didn't launch a trade war against the entire world like we did. And they are smarter. They have been more strategic over long periods of time than we have. And so I think even the Financial Times are saying they're set up to in a much better position than we are at this point.
This is, what did I just talk about in our A block about, we got to wait on Jerome Powell. There's no Jerome Powell in China. The CCP's like drop rates. Like, okay, got it. Same with the raising rates. Done. Now I'll show you guys. For example, already, we're seeing major price increases hit here in the U.S. Go to B3, please. This is actually rocketing around new parent group chats, just like somebody like me. New Up-A-Baby price. Now keep in mind, look, this is an expensive stroller, so let's keep that in mind. That said, the price increase from expensive to ultra expensive is still not great, and this company has been done millions and millions of dollars in sales. Well, their flagship strollers are all increasing by hundreds of dollars as a result of these tariffs. And these are actually the first, I would say, beloved product that I have seen on social media where organic consumers are sharing it and are really complaining. So you can see there are multiple $100 increases that were there. They also sent out Up-A-Baby an email to all of their users saying, listen, we are absorbing as much of this tariff price as we possibly can, but there is just no way for us to be able to do business without raising a lot of these prices.
Yeah.
And they're going to go into effect very, very soon. Our own friend Derek Thompson flagged this as well about how much of the child accessories are manufactured in China. It's like something like 90-some percent.
I have it pulled up. Yeah, so he says the business press has been good at reporting on China's global leader in smartphone and electronics manufacturing, but consider also, as a share of all U.S. imports, China accounts for 99% of child safety seats, 96% of toys for pets, 95% of cooking appliances, 93% of coloring books for children, 88% of microwave ovens, 70+% of toys intended for children under 12. Yes, American AI, electronic, smartphone, and clean energy companies are not set up to thrive in a protracted trade war, but ordinary parents of young kids will be among the hardest hit. So many of the things that new parents buy for their kids and have to buy, your crib, your stroller, like the car seat, all of these things. These are, must-haves. These are not like luxuries. So much of that, not to mention the, toys and things you get for their Easter baskets and things that go under the Christmas tree. So much of that comes from China, and it's already extremely expensive to be a new parent and all that entails. So new parents with young families are going to be very hard hit.
Yeah, I actually, by the way, did do some research, and there's really no Made in America stroller. There's one-off ones, but stuff breaks. Krystal, I'm sure you can tell us about that.
Yeah.
And you need new parts. It's so where are they going to come from? Shocker. Over 93%. Same with luckily, I bought all this stuff before these tariffs come into place, but if you're not so lucky, what are you going to do? The other thing is, as I have discovered, is there's a thriving secondhand market for a lot of these things, like bassinet strollers, car seats, etc. Well, this is just going to do the same thing that it's done to the cars, is that while, yes, you could still buy used, pre-tariffed goods, well, what do you think supply and demand is going to show? You're going to see an increase in the used stuff. So you're actually going to have to pay more, no matter if you're buying new and or if you're buying used. And it'll probably restrict the supply because of the overall number of imports, which will only further skyrocket the amount of the prices here. And, all of this is allegedly, for the benefit of the country. I would say, my own bias. Otherwise, you probably want to make it easier for parents to be able to have children. The law, I don't know if people know this. There's literally a law. You have to have a car seat to be able to leave the hospital.
That's right.
It has to be installed.
And
you don't have a choice.
And don't get a used car seat.
Yeah, right. That's another thing.
Yes, get a used stroller. Don't get a used car seat. You need to get a new car seat. 97% of baby strollers, by the way, I just looked it up, come from China.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I actually tried to find one. I was like, hey, let's see if there's any Made in America stroller, Made in America car seat. The best you can get are some of these that are designed in America, but that's not the same thing. Like Up-A-Baby, Duna, or any of these other ones. But there's some Swedish companies as well as some German companies. But guess what? We also have tariffs on those countries, right? So, and a lot of them are already more expensive. So that what it's like. Don't screw with moms. That's one of those where there's a lot of moms out there, a lot of Facebook groups, Instagram, and more. Where I actually guarantee that will probably reach more and have more political impact than a lot of the other stuff that is happening.
Yeah,
which is important for people to understand.
Back in the George W. Bush era, they called them like security moms.
Yes,
now they're going to
that's
be
right.
like tariff moms.
Yeah, tariff moms, yeah.
Anti-tariff moms, free trade moms.
Yeah, I mean, think about Facebook Marketplace or a lot of these other places. People are already skating by, and now it's going to cost even more money. $100, $300-$400. That's a lot of money. That's a significant portion of the average American's paycheck. And then we have the rise of this buy now, pay later debt, which we're already seeing. Credit card minimum payments actually have skyrocketed just in the last 2 months. So we can see that there's significant pressure on consumer households. All right, and then last thing I wanted to flag here is from the Chinese market and how they are helping out their own customers. Show up this please on the screen. So visitors to Taobao, which is one of the largest online shopping platforms in China, are now being offered steep discounts on products which are normally exported to the United States. For example, rice cooker from $42 to $25, 85-inch TV from $512 to $630, $500 instead of $639. Offers are popping up all across online apps. Quote, the first thing buyers are seeing is a section of goods that's, quote, subsidized by the nation. Basically, the Chinese government bailing out their own domestic online sellers to protect their manufacturers, move goods, move inventory, and keep all of the supply chains and everybody else still employed, make sure that we don't see the freeze that's happening here in America. So that's what a functioning state actually looks like. They have a bailout. They have the ability to put pressure on all of their companies. They can drop their interest rates. They can manipulate their currency. They can do all of these different things. They're prepared for hundreds of billions of dollars in domestic capital injection into their economy. And meanwhile, over here, we've got basically none of that. So.
Yeah, and it looks like they're painting it as like a patriotic project to like upgrade your washing machine or your like.
No, they are. And guess what? People probably will do that. Of course they will. They're under, they feel as if they're under attack. We're literally the people who instigate it, right? So of course they're going to be able to suffer if they want to. Also, let's compare the history of both of those nations. Who has more of a longer and capacity of suffering? I wouldn't put my money on the most consumer-obsessed country in the entire world.
What are we suffering for?
That's what I'm saying.
Why?
Yeah,
We're not.
exactly.
Nobody people don't want this. It's not popular. It's not like we're behind this project. So there's no unified Americans are ready to pay double at Walmart or whatever. No, we're like, why are you doing this to us? Stop it. So they're also in a much stronger position vis-a-vis their population and their support of the Chinese government's direction here.
There you go. All right, let's get to Richard Hanania standing by. Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.